All right, so let's get started. We're going to get started with the opening statements. And Dwayne Holmdahl drew the number 1, so he gets to go first. So Dwayne, and you can stand up or you can sit, whichever you're comfortable with.
Can you hear me back there? Okay, now okay, good. I don't want to make sure everybody. I'll talk. Can you hear me back there if I talk loud? Yeah. I lived in Lompoc. I got here in 1950 with my mom and dad. We worked around these different areas. Dad had ranch and operations. I was a farmer, rancher, cattleman. We did all those things, and then in my own time, while I've been here, I had a mailbox, etc. I worked at J.C. Penney's, and also we had a feed store. Can you hear me now? And a feed store that we supplied people from all the way from Paso Robles to Santa Barbara. Mom and Dad and myself never cared that we were 18 miles from the 101. We went ahead and sold property and did things. Wanted to bring people to town, and that's what we did. And I just was real pleased to see what's going on tonight, and the crowd here tonight to see what's going to go on. And I'm very pleased about that. And we'll see how the evening goes. I think my 30 seconds should be just about up.
Hello, my name is Jenelle Osborne, and I'm running for one of the 2 open positions for the Lompoc City Council. My husband and I chose to buy a home here 16 years ago because it really reminded us of our hometowns back in Texas. I continued to commute for about 5 years to Goleta for a job down there, and because I was living in Lompoc, it allowed me the opportunity to start my own event planning and organizing business, which is now going on its 10th year. With those 2 hours a day freed up, I decided to get more involved in my local community, and one of those was being appointed to the Economic Development Committee for the past 4 years, where I served as both the vice chair and the chair. So while giving time as a volunteer, I learned a lot about our community, and I'm really excited to have this opportunity to represent you on the Lompoc City Council. So I thank the AAUW tonight for holding this forum and allowing me the time to introduce myself to you and get to know you a lot better. Thank you.
Good evening. Sound leadership for Lompoc. That's what I'm all about. That is what I have delivered for the past 2 years. I work with my fellow council members, city staff, and the community to deliver essential services to maintain our quality of life, to deliver smart growth to our city and citizens that does not risk our financial security. Over the past 2 years, we have seen an increase in every economic indicator and a decrease in our unemployment rate. It is now at the lowest it's been since 1999. We have seen construction at both ends of H Street, both construction of new buildings and rehabilitations of long vacant buildings. We have opened many new businesses, including some very nice restaurants. Over the next 2 years, I will continue to work to bring new businesses to Lompoc, to add more quality jobs, and to secure financing for our city infrastructure, including our city parks and public safety buildings. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Mosby. I'm happy to see everybody here tonight. I'm a native of Lompoc. Born in 1964, I graduated Lompoc High School, went to UC Davis, got a degree in biology, came back to Lompoc and established a cut flower business with my wife, which we ran and operated for about 15 years. I've operated and owned several other businesses. I do have a fish business, a small little recreation facility that's not really a business outside of town. It's been a level of controversies for some people, but a blessing to many others. I was appointed on Lompoc City Council approximately 2 years ago, and since that time, I've moved my way through the channels and the connections. I'm the city's SBCAG representative. This is Santa Barbara County Associations of Governments. I'm also the city's Air Pollution Control District representative, where I sit as the vice chair. I'm also the C3H, County's Coalition on Homelessness, to try to help end homelessness in our community and in our county. I'm also the 4th District's Supervisor Peter Adams, County Parks Commissioner. Thank you.
Is the microphone truly working in the back? Good, okay. Good evening, I'm John Linn, and I want to serve Lompoc as mayor again. Together we'll bring new businesses, shops, and jobs to our community, and we can improve our parks and sports fields. We must get the Lompoc City budget back under control without using utility rate increases to fund City Hall. So what's different this election, you ask? In the past, I've just tried to do too much myself because sometimes it's hard to ask for help. When I decided to run for mayor again, I put together a great team of advisors committed to working for Lompoc. The team will work together on commissions and committees with the city council, with the city staff, and with the public for a bigger and brighter future for Lompoc. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very, very much. All right, now we're going to start with question number 1, and this is a question that they are prepared for. When you sit as a decision maker on the city council, what will be the 2 most important components of the ethics training that you will use as your guidance? Number 1.
Oh, boy. I feel sorry for everybody. I'm number 1 all the time. We need number 2 to get up here. Oh, okay, you got to figure it out. Okay. To me, ethics and transparency is 2 things. One, when people come there, you want to treat them with the high quality treat. Listen to what they have to say. Go ahead and see how you can do it. Don't put them off. Don't say, I'll tell you, I'll work on it. That's what I've tried to do all the years I've been on the council and other things within there. I was real fortunate in the 80s to be a county supervisor. So I was able to see an area that covered Lompoc and everything else. But I'm really pleased to see that what we're doing right now is talking to the people as they come in and talk to us, is let them know the truth, and make sure they get the truth, just don't shine them on. And that's what my feeling is on this. Oh, okay. You're number 2.
As a member of the Economic Development Committee, there was a requirement to participate in ethics training, so I did twice during that 4-year term. It goes without saying, given recent incidents with City Council, that the Brown Act should be adhered to, and I complied with that while a member of the Economic Development Committee as well, because it applied to us. In attending those meetings, there were 2 additional items that I really think are important to pay attention to. One is the serial meetings. Serial meetings are the series of any form of communication that includes a majority of council members that is not a public notified meeting. And I find it important to hold myself and fellow council members accountable to not have that happen. The second is the front page test. The front page test asks, even if it's the right decision, and I morally and my personal values agree with it, and it's legal, how would it look if it was seen on the front page? And is that the best choice, given that impression it will leave, given that's the only knowledge some of the public will have?
Well, thank you for asking this very important question. Self-interest and public trust. Those are always on my mind when I sit on the dais and make decisions for this community. In my opinion, ethical conduct is the most important trait of an elected official. I will never make a decision, weigh in on a decision, or try to influence a decision that I or one of my family members have any interest in. Public trust is earned, not automatic. I will always act in the best interest of the public and never take for granted that trust that people have placed in me, because once the public has lost trust in an elected official, they have lost trust and confidence in the entire public process. Because of this, if there is ever even the slightest perception of self-interest, I will recuse myself from that discussion and that vote.
Now, the question was, what were the 2 most components, the most important components of ethic training? So about the components, I don't believe that any 2 components of ethic training are more important than any of the others. They're all important, whether they be values, principles, management support, personal responsibility, or compliance with the codes and laws. Again, I don't believe any of them are more important than any other.
So my sense of ethics comes from a lifetime of community service, being a scout leader, and straight dealing as a successful small businessman. The training we received on the city council has only served to reinforce those lifetime values. I think the two most important parts of the training with regard to the Brown Act were understanding the law and understanding that the public needs to have full disclosure. This training was instrumental when there was confusion on my participation in a county meeting during my last tenure. As you know, thanks to my training, I was cleared and that I was in violation. I will continue to use my training to avoid the situation like that and the recent misstep by the city council that involved the district attorney's office. Thankfully, the district attorney accepted the mayor and the council's apology and did not pursue the Brown Act. As an example of making sure that residents are fully informed, we'll bring out what the city is planning for the Space Center area.
Does anyone have a comment? Because you're welcome to make a comment. No? You're okay. Okay. Question number 2. The upcoming Environmental Impact Report, the EIR, will address the noise impacts and other environmental impacts of the Motorsports Park project. How would you propose the city pay for the development of this park, and what part of the city budget should it come from? And we'll start with number 2.
I don't believe any part of the city budget or that the city should be paying for any of this amenity. It is not economic growth. In fact, the draft environmental impact report said that it is 0.2% of economic impact, and yet it uses more than 5% of our water reserves that could be used for true economic growth. It will impact economic growth if it's put in place, because many homes that are being potentially built around the area may reconsider it because it will lower their value. So just for transparency's sake, my house faces the start line 3,000 feet as the crow flies. So it will affect my home value as well as my neighborhood's quality of life. The other part is I don't oppose this just to oppose it. I'll say what I said here almost 4 months ago in this very room. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. I participate in motorsports. It's just the wrong location and shouldn't be a city function. Thank you.
Pay for it? I thought this was going to be a free city project, built and paid for by volunteers using grant and money from fundraisers. I do not support using or risking any city money for this project. The only portion of the budget that money would be able to be drawn from is a general fund and our reserves, neither of which of these funds have any additional cash. Our general fund is mainly used for paying our city bills for essential services such as infrastructure and public safety. I think these funds have a much higher priority than the motorsports park, which is not an essential service. And just as important as paying for the construction of this park is the question of where will the money come from to maintain the park and also provide liability insurance as we operate it in the future.
As the original design in the MOU, for those who read it and followed along with it, there was a potential for the advancement of funds to be part of the matching for the grant. And the grant was upwards of $1 million grant that was coming forward towards the build out of this facility. The city was to not be responsible and still is not responsible for the funds because we are still getting reimbursements. But my main objective is that the city not pay for any of this. They might have to loan it in advance. And as we found out today, that within 4 to 6 weeks, there's another $176,000, I believe it is, of reimbursement money that is coming back from the state parks and leaving, I believe, at about $120,000 left to come, but that would be on its way soon.
So I guess I'm going to tell you the same thing. The city has never been asked, nor should the city pay for any part of the motorsports park. This has been the goal from the start, and it should remain that way. The foundation of the city should work together for this grant and additional grants for the development, and once completed, the park must be self-sustaining. The purpose of the park is to provide a safe place for our citizens to ride and boost our local economy, not drain the city budget. State grant funds, which come from the off-road vehicle licenses and the 26% from the foundation, have paid all project costs, including city staff time and city miscellaneous costs.
Okay. There's no way I can support the motorsports park. Real other reason, other than that we don't have the money in the city to handle it for them, because they keep asking for it, is that it's a good chance we'll lose the skydiving operation to Santa Maria. And I'm getting tired of losing anything to Santa Maria, and if we're going to give it to them that way. And I don't want money from the city going into paying this project off. They finally paid the $12,000 last week that they've been waiting for, and they got some more they still start to owe. And they just keep owing money all the time. And he said, well, we don't have staff to pay for staff. But it's taking staff away from other projects that need to be done within the city. And, so here they're in there doing their thing and that. We get some of the money back, but projects that we try to get through and move through faster have not had the chance to do it because of they're working on this project. I do not support. I do support the motorsport, but it could be someplace else.
Now, does anyone have a comment?
Well, the comment that Mr. Mosby and Mr. Linn made is that no city funds will ever be used. I'd ask them why at the first sign of trouble, the foundation canceled a $10,000 check that they had given us the night before. Why are there late payments? And when I ask about the late payments, I'm given a response, why are you concerned? Well, I'm concerned because it's your money. And as far as we've already received money from the state, we have not. We have submitted for reimbursement, but we have not received a penny yet from the state.
I just got the MOU or the email today, and I know you got it as well, Mr. Mayor, that the state was showing within 4 to 6 weeks that there will be a check. Now, granted, we haven't received the money, but this is the standard process with grants that you do apply, and it does take a process, and the money does come through. And as far as the check canceled, you'd have to ask them. From what I got, because your motion canceled the MOU, they decided to cancel the check. And that was my understanding that they did that. Moving forward with the MOU doesn't jeopardize what we're doing here. And what we're doing is an agreement that we had with the state that we would do an environmental analysis. And that's what we're doing here. And once you get in the middle of this and you make a commitment for upwards of $400,000, you have to finish, or you would have left us hanging on all of it. So it's very important that once you start something, you finish it.
So let me address just a couple of questions. Number one, remember that it was a draft environmental impact report, which means there are mistakes. One of the mistakes dealt with water. They never asked us how much water we were going to use for our concession stands and they estimated 0.7 acre feet. In reality, we're going to use about 80,000 gallons a year, so that's just, it was overestimated by 98%. Question has been raised on insurance. It's the obligation of anyone who uses city property to provide insurance and to name the city as additional insured. Greenhouse gas study's been brought up a lot. I think all of you know where the park is, but the calculations used for the greenhouse gas study said it was going to take 20 miles to drive from the city of Lompoc to the park. The reality was about 2.8 miles. With regard to Skydive Santa Barbara, we had some recent meetings. At the end of the day, the FAA will decide if the landing area is adequate. And in fact, we did stop the check after the project was canceled because we figured we would need legal defense. Thank you.
Sorry about the mic, but we'll do the best we can, right? Right. Okay, so question number 3. What are 2 projects that you would personally propose and support other than the motorsports park to make the city more attractive for residents, potential residents, and visitors? And we'll start with Bob.
Okay, my 2 projects would be those that I have proposed in the past and I continue to propose. I would propose to completely overhaul the city park system with an emphasis on Ryan Park, which hosts the most revenue generating functions, and also the soccer fields at Riverbend Park that are in dire need of repair. Next, I would continue to propose and support a plan to modernize our police station and relocate Fire Station number 2. It is very important that we continue to that we provide a better service to the north and west of our community. These 2 projects will benefit all citizens of Lompoc and visitors. They will also help lure new businesses to our community.
Well, 2 projects I think that would really advance our community is one is the, as the mayor had mentioned, Riverbend Soccer Complex. It's a travesty what's going on down there. I don't know how many people have been down in there to see the opportunity of what's going on, but don't worry about the gophers, worry about the squirrel holes. And it's getting bad down there. And at cleaning that up and getting that going, killing the gophers, and there is a volunteer program being initiated now to help and aid the city staff with eliminating those gophers down there and getting that grass replanted. Another one is the removal of the whole municipal swimming pool. When the current pool that exists that we're using now was being built, there should have been a plan in there to remove the old one. It's a blighted building, and a lot of us have become numb to it, and we drive by it, and it's got broken windows in it. It has lights falling off of it. It's being repurposed right now for storage, but getting that blight taken care of, I think, would be a significant boost to our community.
So my first priority is the 40-acre Central Avenue Business Park, which I worked on since 2012. The business park has complete city entitlement and is ready to build with up to 870,000 square feet of new buildings. Those buildings can accommodate from 700 to 3,000 new jobs and will help stabilize utility costs. My opponent says he's waiting for tenants. I'll go find them. Second is the Space Museum and Science Center project. I will find a developer that can deliver the completed project. The center will create up to 2,900 jobs and bring several 100,000 visitors a year to Lompoc. Best of all for me is it will provide space education for elementary through high school students in Lompoc. It will also include a 4-year college program for junior and senior years. This will move Lompoc youth into space-related jobs in Lompoc and around the country. Thank you.
Couple of projects have already been talked about, and that's by getting Ryan Park up and running very good and get the gophers out of there if we can. Find some way to get rid of them out there, which by putting wire down there, it's unset. Used to you could poison them, but now you can't do it. They won't let you do it. And then down River Park, we need to bring in that. There were a lot of young people and others come in there and use that soccer field, and it brings people in. And to me, they come in and spend the weekend. You know, everybody talks about a motor sports park, they're going to come and stay. Well, most of them won't come in there. They're campers, and they have their metal, their juices and everything else in cans, and then they go. They don't stay in town overnight. And the one thing that I want to get built, and it was kicked out, I kicked down the road again, it's been gone for the last 50 years, is the new fire station. The job that Kurt Ladapow did, bringing that forward to us, we need that, because what it does do, it also shows company that we have the ability to put out major fires, and that needs to be built.
So the question was, what can we do to be attractive to residents, potential residents, and visitors? And so you heard mention of parks. So rather than spending money on a 38-acre motorsport park, yes, I think we should definitely revamp Ryan Park. And with Ryan Park, I'd really like to see it turn into sort of our own Golden Gate or Central Park, so that it is a non-sport event park where it's totally focused on having the spring or the flower festival, the dog show, or having Local Fest grow to its location with live music and movies. The other area I think we need to focus on is, again, parks, because visitors bring a great amount of money to us when they participate in organized sports tournaments. So if we consolidated some of our parks at a tournament-style sports complex, it would really generate revenue with good access, good parking, and a concession stand that kept people in the area, not only in our hotels and our restaurants and buying gas, but showing what a great community we are to live in because of the sports available to our local students.
Okay, does anyone have a comment? Yes, Bob.
Now, Mr. Linn stated that he wants to bring back the Space Center. You know, I would love to have a Space Center here. I think we'd all love to have the Space Center, bringing the thousands of jobs that he promises, the millions of dollars that he promises. But Mr. Linn has already brought 2 potential developers to town. Neither one of them have ever been able to put together a plan that would work, and neither one of them have ever been able to raise the money to perform. The only thing that Mr. Linn was able to accomplish is that city staff wasted a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of money. So if he does want to bring another developer here to town, I hope he does his homework before we do our homework.
Anybody else?
I think we could say the gauntlet has been thrown down. So I'm glad we all agree that the Space Center would be a great thing. And I want to correct one statement. The third developer, who was unsuccessful, and by the way, it was the third time I had someone lined up, not the second, so I'm a 3-time failure, but I just don't give up, actually paid all the city's costs. So there was no city cost from the third developer. There was, in fact, city cost from the California Space Authority, and we worked with them. You know, we have chosen as a council at a certain time to reduce the funding for parks so that we could maintain police and fire, because those were more important priorities. But as the city budget's improved, and there's a handout for you that shows that, we haven't really restored that money to parks, which we should have. Because if we had, we wouldn't have the situations we have now. The Riverbend soccer fields were built by the community at very little cost to the city, and the maintenance has frankly just been horrible.
I got a comment. I got a quick comment on the fire station. Nobody was kicking the can down the road. All 5 council members were in support of a new fire station. The fire station that was proposed was an all or none fire station. It was a 24,000 square foot fire station, $29.8 million. And if built, and with the staffing levels and numbers that they'd put in, the general fund by the year 2025 would have been a negative $10 million. The elevators in this fire station was 252 square foot elevator. And those of you who watched on TV what was going on that night, the reason and the answer for this elevator was when the 5th grade class came for a tour, they could all ride up and take one together in the elevator. So nobody was opposed to a new fire station. It was what was opposed to us was an all or none.
5-second comment?
Regarding the fire station, I did sit in many of those meetings, actually physically present in those meetings, and many of the times staff came before council and said, here is what we're proposing, or give new direction. If new direction wasn't given at the time and it was moved along, staff continued to work as the project was recommended. Not until the last night was there argument about the size, all of its amenities, and no new direction given, just shut down. So there were plenty of meetings and plenty of time where new direction and new input could have been given, and it was not.
I do have to say a little bit about the same thing on the fire engine and what was going on there. It was something that's definitely been needed. And Mosby doesn't like to be talking about kick down the road. The council has been kicking it down the road for 15 years. Station number 2 is supposed to have been changed 15 years ago, and it hasn't been. This is going to bring it up to date, and what we need in that type of fire station is going to be needed by the new companies who are coming to town on that 40-acre lot that John says he put together, because they're going to look at how we can take care of that kind of information. So we need that fire station, and we have the grounds and everything available to do with it, and the firemen have been looking at it, and they've done modifications any way they can. So definitely we need that fire station.
Thank you all very much. And now we'll go to question number 4. And this will begin with you, Jim. What should the city of Lompoc be doing to give overall support to agriculture and agriculture workers?
First of all, jobs. All jobs are important, and the city should not treat one as if it were more important than any other. According to the latest statistics the city has filed, farming, fisheries, and forestry occupations are the 6th most populated with 752 jobs. Sales and office is the first with 3,407 jobs. Management, business, and financial is second with 2,500 jobs. Services third with 2,400 jobs. Construction, maintenance, and repair with 2,400. Production, transportation, and material moving is fifth with 800 jobs. But no job should be treated any different than any other, and we should respect all of them, no matter how city they are.
Who says we don't bring you some comedy? Agriculture is an important element of our community, and it represents 4% of the jobs in Lompoc. I believe the most significant impact we can have on improving the lives of not only agricultural workers, but all of our residents, is to improve the availability of reasonably priced houses and apartments. Lompoc's housing stock growth is significantly below what is required to keep up with the demand, and has resulted in ever-increasing housing costs and rents. While I realize my opponent received over half his campaign funds last time from out-of-town agribusiness, we still need to come together and work on expanding available housing stock in Lompoc. Agricultural workers are an important element of our community, and they constantly tell me how hard it is to find decent, affordable housing and pay for the ongoing utility increases on the wages that they receive.
Well, I was an agriculturalist for many years and working with the agriculture industry, and then in the last few years working with the wine industry. In 1998, we didn't even have a winery in town, and now we got 44. So I think the city has worked with agriculture. And Bob Campbell built a real nice packing shed over there by the airport, and John's got his 40-acre field for anybody to come in there if it's agriculture, what it is. So we have worked with agriculture. If you go back to the history of Lompoc, we've had all kinds of flowers, we've had shipments of all kinds of vegetables and others coming out of this valley and utilizing the city of Lompoc. So we've done what we wanted. We got a lot of people living in town and are bringing them in by bus. They're living in motels. And it's going to be that way. You don't have to be a field worker to have many people in the same house. But what we need to keep doing is just what's been coming on in here. We got a lot of agriculture and keep working with that. Like I say, the wine industry. Now, if you don't, it's not agriculture as much as everything. Oops. All right. I'll leave it to you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Lompoc is ag history. We started out as an agricultural community, and we still are. And we've always supported both the families, the industry, and the employees. So in talking with the local farming industry and employers and employees, one of the big issues that we are going to face is the need and the use of H-2A workers and the housing needs. And we know, as Dwayne stated and as Mayor Linn stated, there are issues with utilizing local housing versus what's available for the regular housing. So that's the first issue we need to deal with. The second is when you have this many temporary workers coming into a community and they don't have their own transportation, they're utilizing public transportation. And it is something that we should increase and have more efficient availability of, both to get to the jobs as well as to utilize the services we do have in our community that they contribute to by shopping and going out to dinner and going to the movies when they are in town. So there are ways the city can accommodate both, and they should be priorities for us.
We all know that this is an agricultural community, and we are proud of it. We also know that it takes many hands to plant, grow, and harvest our crops. And more importantly, we all know that the agricultural land and the people that work this land are special and have their needs, and we need to protect it. We cannot, no, we must not, take either for granted. Once either is gone, they are gone forever. I have always pledged to protect prime agricultural land, and I will always continue to do so. Likewise, we must protect and support the hands that tend our fields. It is important that they and their families have a safe place to live. There is currently an inquiry from a private company to convert one of our local hotels into farm worker housing. I could support this project if the proponent agreed to pay the equivalent TOT at market rate rooms. They would bring an enforced set of rules that both parties, neighbors and the housing, people utilizing the housing, could live safely in.
Any comments from anybody? Okay. That's fair.
I have comments. So Mr. Linn implied that one of my donations, he implied that it was somewhat probably unethical because it was he said it was from an out-of-town investor, agricultural investor. Well, this person is not an out-of-town investor. It's a farmer from the Lompoc Valley, just like many of you are maybe not live in this community, but this is your city. So the person that donates the money was a Lompoc Valley farmer. He has never brought a single issue before the city council. So the implication that Mr. Linn made, that there may have been something wrong with this donation, I take exception to, Mr. Linn.
Any other comment on the agriculture?
So perhaps I wasn't clear. Nope, the donation was within the statute at $9,900. It was properly disclosed. And when I said not from Lompoc, I meant not within the city limits. So, sorry, I clarify myself. Out of town. I stand corrected. It was out of the city limits. But I do want to say something positive, because that's all good to have. Someone mentioned Campbell's Cooler, and I think we should all know that that was a tremendous success for everyone that was involved. For Mr. Campbell and all of his workers, for the city staff and the city council, because that moved through an entire entitlement process in 90 days. And that was vital to that project being open in time so he could pack berries in the next season. So everyone worked very hard on that, Bob and Dwayne included, to make that project very successful. Thank you.
You get to start this one. You don't know that one yet.
Well, you gave it back.
No, I didn't. We'll have a fight over the mic here, huh? Okay. Okay, and this is number 5, and this is the question they have not been prepared for. The relationship with the County of Santa Barbara is very important to the health and well-being of the cities. What would you propose to do to strengthen the city-county relationship during your first 100 days in office?
So I guess the question is answered in 2 parts. We actually have a good working relationship with the county staff in doing cooperative things. Unfortunately, we have not had a very good relationship with the County Board of Supervisors in that there's generally a 3-2 split. The 2 North County supervisors vote for the things that would improve the Lompoc Valley and help Lompoc do better, and the 3 South County supervisors don't support us. I don't know what the resolution is for that, except those of you who live in the county and have an opportunity to vote for supervisor should seriously consider your 2 candidates and decide which one is going to help the Lompoc area.
I agree with John. The 3 supervisors from South County, you gotta remember, they're not 3 supervisors representing parts of the county. All of them live in Santa Barbara. And one we've been reading about in the paper anyway. He hasn't done a good job representing North County. He made a comment saying that, he helped build the vets building. Well, you gotta remember, the vets buildings are owned by the county, not owned by the city. We had a big battle with the city, that same bunch of group, on some property outside of town we wanted to develop on, and they weren't gonna give us, and the developer had to go ahead and put money in there to pay for the costs of doing business in there. So it cost us money. So the 3 supervisors, so we gotta change. So if anything, we gotta change one of those supervisors to at least get somebody from North County on it. I haven't been in since I was there in 1980.
Well, given it's an election year and we have several open positions on the Board of Supervisors and potentially my joining a Lompoc City Council, my goal would be as a new member of City Council to make appointments and meet with all of the newly elected individuals on Board of Supervisors and find out what their views of Lompoc are, what they'd like to see help and happen in Lompoc, and build a relationship with them on an ongoing basis so that as issues came before the Board of Supervisors, we had an ongoing relationship where we could have discussions about how their votes would impact us rather than making decisions in a vacuum. So I think in the first 100 days, it's really important to build relationships with those newly elected and find common ground as well as where we differ and prepare for those differences.
You know, there's a saying that I think we've all heard, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. This is what we need to do. Because we have a somewhat tenuous relationship with our Board of Supervisors, we cannot continually make negative comments toward the board from the city. And I'm talking about the city council and our city staff. It is quite often that during a council meeting, not me, council members will make negative comments about something a Board of Supervisors had made. Our staff does the same thing. This does us no good. We need to start mending this relationship. We need to maybe have an ad hoc committee. We already have one, but we need to have more that we can work closer with them. We cannot make enemies if we want to work with them.
Bill, as the city's representative to Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, as well as Air Pollution Control District, as well as C3H, and also being Peter Adams County Park Commissioner for the 4th District, I've had the opportunity to work with them quite a bit. I met 3 or 4 times a month. I meet with various people from the county and we have a very good relationship, except for one little comment that came out here recently that I did ask for an apology for it and had the apology come forward and had somebody move forward to meet the people of our community. And my reaching out to him to have him come meet us and understand what we are about. We do have 2 new supervisors coming in, so it's going to be interesting. But currently right now, I believe we have a great working relationship with the 4th and 5th district supervisor. And I think we're doing well with them. We did a decent negotiation over property tax alignment. They did win that one, but hopefully we win the next one.
I have to agree, we have a great working relationship with the 2nd and 3rd district, or the 3rd and 4th and 5th district. I'll get it right yet. And you know, in the most recent election for 3rd district supervisor, I supported the incumbent because I thought she was the best one for the job, and many times she helped us out. She was the swing vote that accomplished things for Lompoc. I'm a little more concerned about one of the people that's running this time because they've made some interesting statements. Thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. Okay. Well, I think the audience did a great job on those 5 questions. So now you can applaud, okay? So now the way this is going to work now is, of course, I'm going to pass this mic, but I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to say who it's addressed to, and then everybody will have a chance to answer it if they have a comment. They don't have to have a comment, but if they do. So the first one is for Mr. Holmdahl. Is the county going to relocate animal control to another area, as the noise from the motor sports park will be hazardous to these animals left in cages? We all know that dogs' hearing is very delicate, and they are already stressed in cages. This would be cruelty.
On that, you would have to ask the Board of Supervisors. Their staff is going to do it. The city's not going to want it done, but the motor sports park, you know, if it goes in, that's one of the things that will happen. 'Cause I've heard from other people in this kind of storage that the noise on this causes cats and dogs and everything else to have some real ear problems. So yes, we'll have to go to the county of Santa Barbara, sit down with them and say, we hate to move them, but then you got to relocate them. So the county's not going to be happy to relocate. That means building another building someplace.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments on that? Dog lovers all. Okay. Okay. So this is a question directed to Mr. Mosby. With your place on the city council for air pollution with your biology degree, how can you justify your strong position in fighting for the motor sports park? Given that trained environmentalists have given their professional assessments that the project would cause air, noise, and water pollution, what do you have to say to those who will lose equity in their homes?
Now remember that we're still finalizing up the draft environmental review, and I understand there are some modifications and some reevaluations on the air quality. And that is important to look at all that, and it's important to understand what it all is coming through and how it's diagramming out. I didn't see a study done on housing value reductions. There are people who are out there who are staying this. This something's been used for years. This was used in 1969 when the highway bypass was coming in, a 4-lane highway was coming to town, and people yelled and screamed that this would reduce property values. And I think we know now that probably wouldn't have reduced values, but maybe it helped it. Now the motor sports park, what is there and is diagrammed in this document, if there are items that are in significant impacts, then these are part of the project that won't be done. But we are still in the study and the analysis of this. And should I still be on council, it's important to remember that we keep an open mind, we look at it, we analyze it, and we see the things we can and can't do, and not be prejudicial in your judgment or your statements until the study and the final is complete.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Mr. Linn wants to comment.
Now, how many of you have read the document?
I have.
Great. So you're better educated. Now remember that it's a draft. Excuse me. Remember that it's a draft, and a draft comes with mistakes. Many, many pages of corrections were submitted. So at the end of the day, we're not sure where air pollution will be because they overstated what the traffic impact would be by more than 90%. We're not totally sure what the noise will be because there were questions raised about the noise study that'll have to be answered. And as for water pollution, actually there's water flows off the site now into the river, and with the park project, no water will flow off the site. So I'm not quite sure where we got that. Thank you.
Well, just two comments. One, Mr. Mosby's comment that indicated that there's no study ever been done that property values will be decreased. Probably, he's right, there's probably no official study, but I have been informed by more than one realtor that they have had people walk away from deals since this motorsports park, once they had to disclose it, and that they have had several panic sales due to it. So maybe not any official study, but there has been official documentation by realtors themselves. The other thing is the pollution with the water. Fish and Wildlife has weighed in on the environmental, and they are advising us not to pass the EIR because of the inadequacies of the ENR and the inability to mitigate the inabilities.
This is a question for Ms. Osborne. What is your first and strongest motive for running for office?
Well, I realize many of you in this room are cheering for the fact that it might be the motorsport park. I want you to understand that it's not that. That is not what has motivated me to run. I considered running 2 years ago when I put in my application for the open position that was vacated when Mayor Lingle was elected mayor. Since that time, I have considered how much I like living in Lompoc, and in fact, how much I love Lompoc. I really think it is a community with so much potential, and I really want to see that potential come to fruition. My time on the Economic Development Committee showed me a lot of what's done well, what could be improved, and really showed me how to think outside the box when it comes to city government. And I want to share that and be a voice for your community and my community, because I've been here 16 years, but I feel like I was born here. It reminds me of home, and I'm making it my home by investing in a home. 15 years into a 30-year mortgage, and I plan to stay here. So, thank you.
So any comments on why she's running? No. I was hoping there wouldn't be. Okay, Mayor Lingle. The city attorney wants to meet in closed session to discuss the new $5 million proposed charge that will be passed to utility users. Given the magnitude of this charge, should the city proceed in a closed meeting when the risk of adverse legal consequences is so high?
Real simple, no. There's no justification for us meeting in closed session on that issue. So it would not be, he would not bring it forward, and we would not meet on that issue.
Any comments on that? Okay. All in agreement. Okay. This is for Mr. Linn. You stated that you want to develop the business park, bring more events to our own parks, and fund a space center. How do you plan to fund public safety infrastructure adequately to accommodate this giant increase in population?
Perhaps I wasn't clear. So the goal of the industrial park has always been to provide jobs for those people who are already in Lompoc, because each day, today, as an example, 6,000 people left town for a job somewhere else. The goal is to create jobs in Lompoc, and that in turn creates revenue for the city, which is what funds police, fire, and parks. And I forgot the second half of the question.
Oh, second half. So did I. But then I didn't have the answer. How do you
Fund, okay.
fund public safety infrastructure?
Okay, so those are the things that will actually fund public safety infrastructure and all of the things within the general fund. So when you build a building, there's property tax. When you have people drawing wages, they in turn spend that money in Lompoc rather than spending it where they work during the day, and that increases sales tax. All of those things will be a substantial net increase to the city and should help solve some of our city budget problems to fund public safety and parks. Thank you.
Any comments on that? Bob?
Okay, hold your breath. John and I actually agree on this. The industrial park, bringing more business, more jobs, will help increase the economy in this community and help fund projects like public safety. It's more than just that we need to do for public safety, but the more industry we can get to town, the better off we'll be. If we stagnate, we will die. So, believe it or not, John and I agree on something.
Let me just fill in quickly. One of the things I do on council is I do a lot of studying of historical documents and books in there and trying to identify some of the trends that are going on. And one of the trends that's happening here in 1990, 52% of our people lived and worked in the valley. If you had a job, you stayed here. Currently, right now, we have 60% of our people are commuters. If you have a job and you live in Lompoc, 60% chance you're a commuter. And just a couple years ago, in 2010, we had a 43.8% of retention here. So the trend is moving, and it's not a healthy trend, and we don't want to be in that position. So agreeing with both of them here, it is very important to bring those people back, bring them home, bring their money here, and establish more jobs locally, which will help support and fund public safety and parks and everything else.
Consensus, can you believe it? Nonpartisan politics. So, yes, it's important to return jobs to the community. Unfortunately, we need to start thinking outside the box. As we've seen, not only locally but nationally, manufacturing jobs have gone away. We need to think about the modern work world, what that entails, and what kind of infrastructure that would support. So just as a quick proposal, as many people know, we have in the past invested in broadband. We need to invest better, and we need to connect this entire community so that that high-speed internet is accessible to businesses that are based in South County as well as in the San Luis Obispo County, and see Lompoc as an opportunity to relocate here as they expand rather than running to Orange County or to the Bay Area. If we can change the landscape of what those jobs are by providing dedicated access on broadband, creative jobs, high-paying jobs will come to Lompoc because we offer the same thing that the rest of the Central Coast does, a great place to live and work.
I wasn't going to say anything because everybody had said everything, but I think the interesting thing is we do have jobs. It has been years ago when everybody moved from Santa Barbara to Lompoc and then drove and took buses. That's why we got 6 buses a day going out of Lompoc because they're going down there to work. There is a plus to it, is that these people are well trained and such as that. So we bring in companies that will go ahead and move into Lompoc, and they already got people living here that know the job. So that has happened a couple, 3 times. We just need to go out and sell that venture. And it is good. We got a lot of good things coming to Lompoc and go out. But the biggest thing we got to do is advertise Lompoc as a place to go. And there's a lot of times that isn't happening. We're not going out there and say, all right, this is what we have, this is what we have available, and that's what we got to do.
Okay, thank you all. This question is for you, Mr. Holmdahl. You can get back up. You discussed new fire stations and relocating. What about the police station?
I figured that would come in eventually. But it's got to work together because the police, we're trying to figure out they got to get some storage. When you can't walk up and down the aisles in there with all the stuff around to keep. So that's all part of it. It's salaries for both police and fire and storage and such. But if we don't build one, nothing's going to happen. And what I found out the other day is that the fire station now being put off as long as it has after it came before the council, it's now 5% more in total cost than what it was at that time. So we've got to make that decision, you know, and if police needs it as much as fire, but fire needs it too, we need to store our trucks. The one thing, the police have cars, but the fire department have trucks, water trucks, all kinds of trucks and everything else, so, and they sleep on site. So there's a little bit of difference in what's needed, but I'll call it there.
Any other comment from anybody?
You know, it's important to realize that when the grand jury criticized our jail, and let me back up. We do need to work on our police department, our jail. But when the grand jury criticized our police station, they went there for an inspection of our jail. They found absolutely no deficiencies in the jail, and they were a little bored, so they walked around our police department, and they found that it was crowded, it needed to be enlarged. So that was the comment they made, and they made a report, or they had the grand jury criticize it for us. Now, one of the things is, if and when we build, not if, but when we build our new Fire Station 2, we could vacate the current Fire Station 2, allow Fire Station 2 to possibly become storage and extra maybe office space for our police station. So that is one thing. The police station is in a good location. We just need extra space for them.
You know, planning. You know, planning is very critical, and when you make any of these movements, you have to work with a set of plans. In 2003, the City of Lompoc approved the Capital Improvement Plan. The Capital Improvement Plan was the design and build-out of many of our levels of our infrastructure, including parks, police station, fire station. And one of the thought process of this fire station in 2003, and it took them 6 years to design this book, by the way, was that they were going to build a 2-story parking garage on Ocean Avenue, and they were going to push the fire station out into the parking lot to the west. That was the design and play out and the layout that they had planned for and that they were saving for. Now, likewise, with the fire station, what they were designing and planning for the fire station, for the new Fire Station 2, was to be a structure that was going to cost $750,000. And that's why, when I've been on council currently, I've asked for a reevaluation of the AB 1600 impact fees and a new capital improvement plan, which they're working on now.
Any other comments? Okay, this is a question for Mr. Linn. Besides the motorsports park, what ideas do you have that will help the at-risk youth in the community of Lompoc, specifically those involved with gangs or drugs? Or gangs and drugs.
You know, unfortunately, those two things go together. And one of the things I think we've been least successful at is saving our young people from these things. I think most of you know I was a scout leader for many years, and we brought a lot of kids into the program, and I'm happy to report only 2 fell off to drugs, but that was still 2 we lost. There's a very successful program in Santa Maria that's run by the YMCA. If I remember correctly, I toured it when I was on the County Human Services Commission. In the north side of Santa Maria, in one of the worst neighborhoods. And over the years, that program, by providing after-school activities, study halls, and so on, has reduced gang activity by 60% in that area and saved countless lives. I tried to bring that program here, but I was unable to move it through the city. And I think that's one of the high things on my list of objectives, again, because our youth are our future. Thank you.
One of the items that I've moved forward with and one I'm passionate about is doing stuff for the youth. And that's one of the reasons why I fight so hard to keep my recreation fields outside of the town available for the youth. And weekly I have over 500 kids added up who play out there on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 150 kids each day. Tuesday, Thursday, I have approximately 80 kids out there, which I let them use my fields for free during that interim, in understanding how important it is to keep the youth very busy.
You know, this isn't an easy solution. There is no easy solution for that, but I think it's a 3-pronged solution. One, we have to keep the kids in school. The kids that are dropping out of school usually are the ones that are getting in trouble. Two, we have to provide recreation for them, and I believe Mr. Mosby and Mr. Linn have discussed that. But three, and probably even more important, is we have to find jobs for our youth. We cannot get them recreating, getting them through school, and not having jobs. So jobs are not the solution, but they are a cure for many of our ills in this community. That's why one of the things that we should all be concerned about on this council is creating more jobs for everyone, but especially our youth.
I think one of the things that City Council can do is make sure that we put helpful policies in place that allow the organizations that are addressing these issues more empowerment and better access to the facilities they need in order to put programs in place and help underwrite them that way. So there are programs that the current YMCA are doing, that the Boys and Girls Club are doing, the partnerships they're having with Lompoc Unified School District for after-school programs. There are great number of organizations in town who are tackling both the sports aspect and engaging at-risk youth in sports, as well as doing things like youth theater and the Lompoc Theater Project, which I'm a board member of, trying to move projects forward that engage the youth in something that is more exciting and more interesting than being a part of a gang and gives them a better identity of themselves and less likely to turn to drugs. So City Council needs to make sure when they look at a policy and how it affects these nonprofits, these local entities, that they are helpful policies, not a burden.
They said it all.
I think so. I think you're right. Okay. Okay. So we have time for one more question, and this one is directed to Bob Lingle, but I think you're all probably going to want to answer this one. On the matter of downtown redevelopment, what is your position? If positive, please state why, and if negative, state what can be done to make it positive.
Well, I'm very positive on the downtown area. I'm positive that we will get it developed. And there's some real exciting things happening. Some of you know some of the things that are happening in the downtown area right now, especially those in real estate right now. We have an out-of-town developer that is in buying up some of the buildings in the downtown area for development. Mixed-use development, that's residents on the top floor, businesses on the second floor. That's a great use for our downtown area where we'll create walking people, especially when we have the brewery open. We've got some wine tasting there. We're getting another boutique in the downtown area. So the developments in the downtown area are happening. I'm very positive on the downtown. And I'm also very positive on the new group that has taken over the Lompoc Theater. They're making some progress right now. They're paying off the taxes. They've cleaned the place up. They're getting ready to put a roof on it. That'll be, it's always been said, that's the key to our downtown area, and it's going to happen this time.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment on that? No? Then I'll pass it on.
As vice chair and chair of the Economic Development Committee, the Old Town was one of our major focuses. It has been very exciting to hear that word has gotten out about the potential for Old Town, and that we do have somebody, while being from out of town, he is still local to Santa Barbara County, and he does believe that Lompoc has great potential, and he is investing in several buildings and with exciting plans about things to come. Part of his reasoning was the Lompoc Theater project's on the way up, and there's going to be changes. I want to get in and be a part of it as that changes. There is individuals who are embracing the downtown art culture that has evolved and want to expand it, and one of the new places going into business in the old theater is an artistic community, is renting a space and will be opening soon. There are the creative crosswalks that have gone in Old Town to revive and connect, and I was happy to sit on that committee and help drive that forward, and we want to see more of those crosswalks be put in across our community and encourage visitors to not just come look at our beautiful murals, but look at our streets as well. So I think there is real potential in Old Town, and I'm happy to see it happening.
I think it's really exciting that the gentleman is coming and buying the property in town, and he's finally doing what we changed the zoning on several years ago, is that you go ahead and live upstairs and have the business downstairs. The council did that a long time ago, but the existing property owners didn't want to do it. So that, we've got somebody with some new ideas coming into town, that's what's looking nice. The other thing we're looking at in the account of the city is that one of the problems, there is a lot of problems with parking, but if you want to have residents, you could have walk-to, you don't have to have it on site. So one of the things in the zoning ordinance is that you had to have enough parking on site to go ahead and get the project going. We're looking at that, that can be changed, that's gonna make a big difference of where they have to park. But I think we've got a lot of good future coming down, and it's gonna be exciting to see what this gentleman has to do.
Thank you. And I think Mr. Mosby and Mr. Linn want to make a comment?
So Bob and I are going to agree again, except we're going to agree wholeheartedly with, I think, out any compromise, that downtown is tremendously important to Lompoc. You know, a long time ago there was a chamber study, and it identified the theater project, or the revitalization of the theater, if you will, as the trigger for downtown. And the entire council, myself when I was mayor, Bob since he's been mayor, have worked to free that property from state control, and it's now been successful, and they are moving forward, and it's great. There are some things that we still need to do. As you perhaps know, the council acted several years ago to allow offices on the ground floor of buildings, and we promptly filled up a bunch of vacant buildings. There are some obstacles that still need to be removed, and Dwayne mentioned one, which is the requirement that if you have residences on the second or third floor, you have to have parking on site, which is nearly impossible with existing buildings, and actually canceled one building project for a building that was going to be built down there. So we need some plan changes, and those will happen as part of our zoning ordinance update.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much for your good questions. I'm sorry we couldn't answer more, but we all need to get home and go to work tomorrow, I bet, huh? Okay. So, so the questions from the audience are now closed. And now I'm going to ask each candidate to give a 1-minute closing statement. And we're going to begin with Mr. Linn.
So there are many complex issues in city government, and some of them bring us together, and some of them take us apart. At the end of the day, always remember that those that take us apart should not overshadow those that bring us together. We can't really, any of us, talk about an issue in depth in 1 minute. So I have a handout, because you know I always do, that covers some very important issues in Lompoc that I hope you will take time to read. Some of you are Bob's supporters, some of you are my supporters, some of you are trying to decide, but I think it's important that all of you look at those and then talk to us about how you feel about them, because those are the things that will affect Lompoc going forward. Thank you for coming this evening, so many of you. It's great to talk to a full house.
And I want to thank you, ladies, for inviting us here for this forum. It's one of the more successful ones I've seen. You've packed the house. I had the opportunity and to be fortunate 2 years ago to be appointed on council, and I think those who've watched me move forward realize that I am willing to ask the tough question. I'm willing to do my work and do my research and to really vet the projects and documents that come forward. And I really wish to continue that. I've just kind of got started, I think, with items like I've mentioned before, the capital improvement plan, the AB 1600 impact fee plans, and to get the proper mapping of this town and getting it moving and continue moving in the right direction. So that is why I plan on, well, I am running, and guess I could always pull out, but I wouldn't do that, right? Wish for your vote this coming November.
I also want to thank the members of the AAUW for putting on this very successful forum, the members of the community here and the members of the community at home that are watching. Thank you very much. I'd like to also make a special note. We have several firefighters in the audience today. I want to thank them and all of brothers and sisters in the firefighting service for the great job they're doing in protecting us from this fire, so thank you very much. I get an extra 10 seconds now. I've served on the Lompoc City Council honorably for the past 10 years. 2 years as a planning commissioner and the last 2 years as your mayor. During these 10 years, I have helped our city through the worst economic crisis in the past 50 years. I have helped rebuild our economy, and now the city is back on full recovery. I consider it a privilege to serve you. I'm asking for your vote November 8th so I can continue to serve you in this wonderful community. Thank you again and have a good evening.
If elected to Lompoc City Council, my goals include improving Lompoc's business-friendly environment that was begun while a member of Economic Development Committee with smart strategic development plans for economic development. To invest in technology for a more transparent and efficient City Hall and to modernize Lompoc. To empower those already addressing both homeless, veteran, farming issues, literacy, education with helpful policies, nothing that hinders. And to assure that city staff and our community prioritize economic development and have job creation actually happen, not just talk about it. And finally, to provide you an avid new voice for Lompoc. So I want to realize Lompoc's potential. I want your help doing it. So I look for your vote this November. Thank you for taking the time tonight to come out. Thank you, AUW, for putting on the forum. My card is at back. Go to my website, give a call, send me an email. I'll sit down and talk with you. I'll listen to anything you have to say and give it the best effort I can.
Like the others, I want to thank AAUW for the forum tonight and the crowd we have. I think it's excellent to see all that, and I'm very appreciative of what we've seen tonight. As an old-time member of Santa Barbara County and city of Lompoc, and I've watched a lot of changes in what's going down the road, and we've got a lot of good things going down the road that we need to get tied into. You know, nobody talked about Hancock College. I fortunately was one of those able to get Hancock College in the training center that we have up there. Now it's got to be used. We got some other things coming down the road and what's going to happen downtown. Now, you know, we talked a little bit about the brewery. Now, when I said in '98 we started with one winery, now we're going to start in 2000, whatever year it is. With a brewery, that brings people into downtown. That's going to tie up with what's going on downtown, and it's excellent. And I've talked to, I'm going to take just 1 second. I had talked to a gentleman the other day, and everybody all said, we need better restaurants, we need all this. But he worked out at Hancock College. He says, he came from Santa Maria, spent 8 years in Santa Maria. He said, boy, Lompoc has the best restaurants. Santa Maria doesn't have anything in the quality. Now that was a real plus, and I'm going to leave you with that.
Okay, now we can. Well, I want to thank our candidates for spending the time tonight and just spending the time preparing for tonight. Thank you very much, all of you. We really appreciate it. And thank you for coming tonight. And we have another forum planned for the Lompoc Unified School District on October 5th. So come back again, okay? And thank you for coming. Good night.